Hey guys, welcome back. So I was hoping to do a how I use Adobe Illustrator video this week, but unfortunately I don't think I can get it done in time due to being away for a few days, along with some freelance work that I'm doing and teaching and starting to feel a bit under the weather. So for today's coloring page, I thought I would change up the theme just a little bit. Instead of doing a motivational poster with my Lil Bitty Crypties characters, I thought I'd do a, quote, business poster, unquote, with my Little Bitty Crypties. Now, of all my cryptids that I've created thus far, Mo the Mothman is probably my personal favorite. Part of it is because he just seems so cute and cuddly to me with the way I drew him, but it's also that I love to draw big circular characters. For those of us who do things like figure drawing, we all probably have a favorite kind of model we like to draw, and for me, it's the heavier and curlier models. As an animator who was trained traditionally on this stuff that I think was called pencil and paper, and I jest, but I rarely draw on them anymore. Hence the stupid jokes. These days, everything's pretty much digital for me. But back in the day when I was doing traditional hand-drawn animation and illustration, my bosses and teachers really tried to encourage us to really get our whole arms into drawing and, to keep our palms off the paper. So drawing big shapes were just, fun for that kind of drawing. Now, when I designed Mo, I kept thinking that the Mothman, we don't know if it's erased or not, always seems to come up as a harbinger of doom. And therefore, I felt like maybe he'd be a bit of a jinx. Maybe he'd be a bit of a punching bag for the other cryptids I've made. I think he means well, but things never really turn out how he intended. For those unfamiliar with the legend of the Mothman, it started way back in 1966 in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and culminated with the Silver Bridge collapse in 67. Now, as a side note, for those who have seen the movie, which I love, the real story is far crazier than what the movie shows. Now, I love Richard Haddam's, the Haddam scripted movie, and I've watched it many, many times, but a few years after I saw the movie, I decided to read the original John Keel books, and holy hell, it is so much crazier than I ever thought possible. Oh, by the way, if you're looking for a new podcast, I definitely recommend Richard Haddam's Paranormal Bookshelf, which he intersperses his own real-life experiences with the various paranormal books he's read, and it's just a fantastic listen. He has a great voice. So back to the story, and I'm not going to get into everything because there is just so much that happened during this time. It all got started, as far as I know, when 4 teens saw a massive, large flying man with glowing red eyes while they were driving along State Route 62, a bit north of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. They said it stood 7-ish feet tall with a wingspan of about 10 feet near the abandoned National Guard armory and power plant. Now, of course, seeing something like that, they sped off, but claimed upon arriving at the police station that the creature kept pace with them easily. No problems at all, keeping pace with them at over 100 miles per hour. And I know a lot of people have naysayers claiming it was a sandhill crane or some kind of bird, but I just don't buy it. Like, you don't mistake a large scrawny bird for a giant red-eyed man, and they certainly don't fly that fast. Maybe a peregrine falcon, but those things are tiny. Also, those birds, the sandhill crane, they're not native to that area. So sure, maybe one could have gotten off track, ended up there. But again, a massive man-like beast versus a bird, no, I'm not buying it. The following events leading up to the bridge collapse got even more bizarre with aliens, men in black, who may also be aliens, but they seem like they're kind of robotic, and various electrical phenomena, and all sorts of nuttiness. I know I'm forgetting things, but it's been a long time since I read the book, but trust me, it's crazy. Ultimately, in 67, the Silver Bridge collapsed, unfortunately killing 46 people, and it was due to, if memory serves, the corrosion of one small piece. I thought it was a screw, but I looked it up. It's called a linkage eye bar. Unfortunately, I'm in a fairly dark place these days, and I decided to go with dark humor for this one. As I said, Mo means well, but things tend to go wrong whenever he tries to help. So I thought the last being I would ever want working on a construction project would be Mothman, and thought it would make for a great anti-advertisement. I started off by putting in my grid for the rule of thirds, just to make things more interesting, but then I decided that the horizon line was just too high, so I ended up moving the pick down. Once I've got the basic thumbnail, I then set to roughing out the image. As I've mentioned in previous videos, at least I think I have, I like to use things like the line and circle tools to get things in, but then I draw over them on another layer in freehand to make sure they keep some of that life in the line. Once I'm happy with the sketch, I then start to ink it using my sketchy brush that I initially downloaded from Clip Studio's Market and then altered to my liking. Along with drawing freehand over shapes, I've mentioned that I like to use messier inkers when I'm inking, cleaning up. Again, it's just to keep some life in the line. When I ink, it's a good rule of thumb that the lines which are closer to the audience will be thicker than the ones in the background. Also, for the background elements, like say bridges and cars, I try not to do too much line weight variation in order to make sure they don't look too organic. Ultimately, I decided it's time for Mo to have his own construction company. Again, but personally, I wouldn't hire him. And I come up with this cute, and I think it could be a t-shirt design idea. Once again, if you're interested in the equipment I'm using, please click the affiliate links below, and also check out my line of Lil Bitty stickers along with my comic book, Faded Surviving Magic. Thanks, and stay cryptic.